You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Tonight, we dive into the chilling story of a 12-year-old who had a face-to-face encounter with something not of this world, a Sasquatch. This is a story of Stephen, a young boy out exploring the woods near Lake Stevens, Washington, when something dark and massive stepped into his path. The creature's deep-set eyes locked onto his, and Stephen knew in that moment he was not alone in the woods. This isn't a legend or a myth, it's a first-hand encounter, so stay with us. All right, Bigfoot Society, you've got the privilege of talking to Stephen today. Stephen's an individual I got connected to that is here to share about some interesting encounters that happened to him during his junior high and high school years. So welcome to the show, Stephen. How's it going today?
Good, Jeremiah. Really good. Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, I believe, I'm going to let you set the stage here. I think I know where we're going, but we'll let you set it. So feel free to take us back to when this first started happening to you, and anything else that you need to in order to set the stage.
Okay, well, my first encounter, I was 12 years old. Okay, the neighborhood I lived in was about 2+ miles west of Lake Stevens on the west side of Highway 9, and maybe about a mile south of 20th Street at 14th Place and 91st Avenue. On the west side of the neighborhood, there's some power lines. Now, 50 years ago, there were still some cedar trees, some large stumps, a lot of bushes, and with garter snakes and alligator lizards that we used to capture. Just to kind of give you an idea how wild it is, or a little more, back then. I mean, right now the neighborhood is probably, my sighting sits in the middle of a neighborhood, so it would seem kind of strange. I've driven by there actually recently. My sister still lives out in this neighborhood. Anyway, we would go out. There was a pond out in this power lines also on the west side of the neighborhood, and where we built a raft. We'd stroll around catching frogs and newts and stuff. And now to the south side of the neighborhood, there are woods and trees that stretched for nearly a mile all the way out to 20th Street. Right now there's neighborhoods. But so in these woods, maybe about 200 yards, there's this place we called the Pothole. And it's an old drinking water well. There was the remains of an old house foundation nearby. And I just want to say, I believe the Pothole got its name from the teenagers that used to party there and, smoke their stuff there. That's how I believe it got its name. And so, anyway, one day, it was me, my black Labrador, and 2 neighbor friends, about my age, maybe a little younger. I was 12 years old. We headed out to the Pothole. And as you enter the woods, you go down this gully and back up. And this gully was created by the underground springs that came from the woods that ran out into the west side of into the power lines that created this pond we used to go into. Just to give you some details of it a little bit. But so about 200 yards into these woods, we were standing around chit-chatting away, my 2 friends and my dog, and suddenly my dog kind of alerted with like a wolf, more like a wolf. And then he was standing alert, just staring off into the trees to the south, into the woods, to the south side of the woods. And I, for some reason, turned over to my left. And standing near this stump. Maybe it was a tall stump, tall cedar stump from when the tree fell over. And it's probably about 6 foot tall stump, I want to say, 5 or 6 feet tall, give or take. And I seen what looked like an ape or a gorilla hunched behind this stump. I was looking right into its eyes. Okay. I probably stared into its eyes maybe 5 or 10 seconds, maybe, or at most, and started running out of the neighborhood out of the woods as fast as I could into the neighborhood. Now, I didn't even look to see if my friends were following me or not, but as I got out of the woods, they were just right behind me. They were right there too. And I asked them when I caught my breath, out of breath, because I nearly ran head over heels over this gully down into this, up and down into this, out of the neighborhood. There's that gully there. And caught my breath, and I said, "Did you see it?" And they didn't answer me. They're just looking at me. And so that there told me they didn't see anything. They didn't see it. They were looking off to where my dog was alerted to. So I'm guessing that time there was more than one thing in the woods, because my dog was alerted to the south, and I looked off to the west, and it seemed to be crouched behind this cedar stump. And yeah, I looked into its eyes. It had like deep brows. I would say it was black, brown, maybe dark brown, black, hairy. And yeah, so let me get back here.
Stephen, do you mind if we talk about that sighting for a few minutes?
Yeah, let's do.
So this is it Lake Stevens, Washington?
Yes, it is.
Okay, gotcha. Wow. So you said what you saw was hunched over behind the 5 to 6 foot tall cedar stump. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, I believe I could see its right shoulder hanging out. So I've been to this woods 100 times before, and so the stump, when I turned to the left, looked massive for a second, looked bigger than it normally was. So I know something was standing crouched down behind this stump. And I looked right into its eyes, and yep, I'm sure this is not right. And I began running as fast as I could. And yeah, it scared me. It really scared me. So,
do you remember what color the eyes were?
It was kind of shadowy in the woods. They were just deep, dark eyes. Just some people say they saw red eyes. I didn't see red eyes, but it was they were large with big eyebrow, not eyebrow, but eye bridges, or what do you want to call deep set eyes into its sockets.
Do you remember if there were any whites around the eyes, like on the corner of the eyes as you were looking into them?
Yeah, I don't know, but
Okay.
I'm definitely sure they were eyes, and they were just staring deep, right at me. And with the angle, where they were standing, I can see why they didn't see what I was seeing, because they were off to the right, more a little bit south of me from the pothole. And I still believe there was more than one of them out there, or at least something going on to the south of the woods, because that's where my dog was focused at.
Mm.
And then I just, for some reason, turned to the left and looked towards the stump. And yeah, there it was, standing hunched down behind this stump. And it was definitely looking directly at me. And I just knew that wasn't right. So I started running. I mean, I booked it. And yeah, go ahead.
Is this so? This takes place in the late 70s. Is that right?
Yeah, 1975.
Okay,
it was.
gotcha. You had mentioned that sometimes people would go back to this area to, do certain things. I'm guessing at the age of 12, you guys weren't involved with any activities like that out there that would make you not really aware of what was going on.
No, we didn't know. We were too young for that.
Right.
We didn't get involved in. It was just a spot where, but the teenagers the older teenagers hung out, and but definitely none of them out there at this time. Nobody. We were definitely alone.
Gotcha.
In
And
the woods.
I was actually going to ask, is there any chance at all that this could have been an older teenager knowing you guys were going out there and then trying to play a trick on you?
No, I thought that over too many times and went over I thought about that too many times. I didn't think, I don't have any reason why they would do that or play a trick on us. At that time, there was no Sasquatch talk that I remember, and then, I think, and they joked around with me, other neighbor kids and stuff about it. And there was this old house across 91st Avenue, and somebody, one of the neighbor kids said that these people that lived across 91st Avenue in this old house had some monkeys. Had monkeys, they said. And so I was curious, and I was brought over there one day and to see maybe he had some large monkeys. It's probably, I was a little naive and gullible. Maybe they got a gorilla out there or something, but I went over there and I was invited in, and all they had was some spider monkeys. So they had these two little spider monkeys. So no big gorillas hanging around. They had an aviary, for birds.
Oh, wow.
Sanctuary out beside their house with cockatoos, pigeons and stuff. So, but yeah, I just had to go over there to make sure they didn't have any gorillas.
Oh, absolutely.
out there.
Yeah. And that is very interesting, though, because so there was some sort of monkey in the proximity, but what you saw, I mean, it sounds like, well, I'll ask you, you were able to look into its eyes, but did you notice any other details of it before you ran out of the woods?
Well, just its deep set eyes and its hairy shoulder, hairy upper arm, hairy shoulder, I guess. But I could definitely tell it was big in stature. It was something definitely pretty big, crouched behind there. And that's about it. It was, I definitely looked into its eyes and seen it. That it had kind of a look of, I don't know, kind of a look of curiosity. Did give me I didn't get the feeling it was an angry look or anything, but that's about it. It shouldn't have been there. That's all I gotta say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What? If my dog and I think about how my dog reacted in the woods there. It's like normally my dog would chase deer or rabbits or anything else, but it didn't. It just it stood just stood its ground, and it was just like it's like my dog was freaked out over it too, possibly, you know. But again, he was looking the other way, as far as I know. But my dog and my friends were looking the other way at something in the woods that evidently they didn't. I don't think they saw anything, and they didn't say anything, but I think they believed that I saw something. So, and later on, my dog, days later, I don't know, weeks later, my dog was running off a lot, straying off, and she never did that. It's a female dog. She never did that before, and the neighbors about 3 houses down from me let me know that they had some rabbits missing, and that I may have that my dog may have broken into their cage, they thought. And I remember I was mad. I was not happy about that. I didn't think my dog would break into a rabbit cage and eat them. I knew my dog well enough to not do that. And then sometime later, my dog wound up getting killed on 91st Avenue, when she was wandering around. Like she never did this before, but she did get hit by a truck. But the neighbors invited me, before that happened, the neighbors invited me down to their house to have some rabbit dinner. They butchered rabbits and ate them. That was one of their food sources. So they invited me down there for rabbit dinner one time, and just to kind of let me know that they didn't believe. They were sorry about my dog, and they didn't believe that my dog was the one that did it, because they had reinforced their cages and put padlocks on their cages, and their rabbits still wound up disappearing, nearly all of them. He stopped after this incident. He stopped butchering and keeping rabbits. Somehow something or someone had broken into the cages after you put padlocks and reinforced lining on the cages, heavier wire and all that, and took all his rabbits. So they were letting me know that they didn't think my dog was the one that broke into the cage, because they were now disappearing.
How many approximate rabbits do you think they were keeping at any time? We're talking a lot of them, or?
Yeah, quite a few of them. I mean, dozens. I mean, they had rabbit dinner a lot. The mother fried them up and ate them. They had quite a few cages back there, and they started disappearing. They couldn't figure out how their locks got snapped off, broken off. Of course, it was steel locks on wood frame, but they were broken off, and all the rabbits disappeared, nearly all of them. And they just assumed somebody did it to steal the rabbits. But I had reason to believe that maybe it was the creature that I saw that did this. I can't say 100%, but it ruined their rabbit. Ruined their rabbit dinner. So they quit. They stopped raising rabbits sometime after that. And I don't think, anybody believed about Sasquatch. Like I said, there wasn't much talk about it back then. Maybe the Patterson Gimlin film, that was probably about the only thing I knew about at that time. And we don't have stories like that like we do now about sightings of Bigfoot and Sasquatch. There was maybe a story or two back then of Sasquatch and Bigfoot, because it's still pretty wild back then. But yeah. So what else do I want to say?
Sorry, just real quick. How close to the pothole area is this land, this property with all the rabbits in it?
Well, it's in my neighborhood, 3 houses down from me, probably a quarter mile, maybe at most. So from the south side of the neighborhood, it's about 200 or 300 yards into the woods. So probably from their house, maybe another 100 yards. Not that far. I mean, it's just up this, just a little ways from the pothole. So, and it's in the woods. They're pretty thick, pretty heavy back then still. And there's trees to the east side of the neighborhood, the south side. The north side was up. Well, there's some neighborhoods. The north side, there's a school, my school I went to. But as far as the east side and the south side, they were very heavily wooded. And to the west side, it was all power lines and a pond even. It's pretty wild, pretty heavily wooded. And I think I remember some stories of possible sightings back then, but I didn't pay too much attention. But anyway, that was my sighting. That's all I saw was a possible. And I have 2 other encounters here that I think you might find interesting.
Absolutely.
They're fascinating to me. So this is in 1976-77. It was summertime at Spring Lake, and Spring Lake lies east of the Jordan Road, approximately 3 miles northwest of Granite Falls. And I looked it up. It's a 26-acre lake. It's one of the shallowest lakes in the county, and it has no public access. There was only 3 or 4 cabins at the time back then, and 2 of them were my stepfather's, my stepdad, and his brother that owned. And my stepdad owned an A-frame cabin next to his brother's. That was just a square cabin. And so this is like 3 years later, give or take, yeah. And there's a vacant home across the lake. I never seen anybody there. And this is much like a big pond, as more of a lake. It had a lot of frogs and beavers, and it was full of fish though. It had you could look over the rowboat we had there, and you could see large fish in the water, but you could never catch them because it was, I think the fish were too well fed from all the frogs and mosquitoes out there. And so it was difficult to catch these fish. And so, anyway, so the A-frame cabin, it had a large glass window facing the lake and no running water, and had two small bedrooms upstairs. The toilet was an outhouse, and of course there's no electricity. But it was a beautiful built with an awning in the back, with a cabin, with a barbecue pit, with a chimney and picnic tables. So we were out there one weekend having a barbecue dinner. It was my stepdad, my mother, my sister, and her friend, and it was me, my brother, and my friend, and his friend, my brother's friend and mine. So after dinner, it was late. We were eating outside under the awning, big barbecue dinner, and us boys decided to sleep outside, away from the cabin. We wanted to be under the stars, and we didn't feel like sleeping upstairs with my sister and her friend because it's only a 2-bedroom cabin, and it wasn't. I mean, we could sleep downstairs, but it was really uncomfortable down there. But we decided we wanted to camp out a little more, get a little excitement, and camp outside the cabin. And it was probably maybe 50 yards away from the cabin. So, and George, my stepdad, he had a dog. He had a dog, a big German Shepherd dog mix, German Shepherd mix. And so after dinner, us boys were sleeping just out there in our sleeping bags. I think a tarp in the sleeping bag, sleeping under the stars. It was really dark. I mean, you couldn't see your hands in front of your face. You had these little flashlights that were shining around. But suddenly, the frogs and crickets stopped. It got quiet, and we were no longer talking. We're just. I was tucked down in my sleeping bag with only maybe the top of my head sticking out, and there's this terrible smell in the air. Yeah, it was a stench in the air, and I felt footsteps. I felt heavy footsteps getting closer to us, and my brother and friend weren't saying anything. I think they maybe felt or smelt something too, and I remember laying there, and I kind of pushed my elbow over to see if my friend and brother were still there, and I felt my brother, he was trembling, so I know he was scared, and something was standing above. I felt something was standing by us, but I was too scared to stick my head out of the sleeping bag to look. I mean, I felt paralyzed in fear for sure, and some time passed away. The frogs and crickets came by. And I want to say, before this happened also, my cabin, or the dog was sleeping next to us, was laying beside us. When the crickets and frogs stopped, the dog got up and walked away. I'm like, where's the dog going? Like something was wrong. It walked away from us just suddenly. And that's when the smell came on. And I was sure something was standing there beside us. But some time went by, and the crickets and frogs all came back. And We all got up at once and just ran to the cabin. We didn't even grab our sleeping bags or anything. We just hoofed it back to the cabin. And we ran into the cabin. My stepdad came downstairs, and my mom was like, I remember mom saying, where's your bedding? And, it's cold. Where are you going to, so we had to sleep upstairs with the girls, man. I mean, my stepdad, so you can just lay your sleeping bag, go get your sleeping bags and lay them down here. And none of us wanted to go out there and get our sleeping bags. We were too scared. Because we were like, and I remember thinking my stepdad, he mentioned from time or two the big man. I mean, we'd be on our way out to the cabin sometimes, and I'd ask, who's going to be out in the cabin this weekend? And he said, it's just going to be me, the dog, and the big man of the forest, and us. And I always thought he meant the big man of the forest was his brother or his brother's friends or something. And I mean, stepfather looked like a Grizzly Adam type guy. He hung out. I mean, he built his cabin out in the woods, and he was an ex-iron worker and all that. But he mentioned he went out to get our sleeping bags for us because we were too scared. He had to get the lantern and go out there and get them. And we ended up sleeping upstairs because we were too freaked out to sleep downstairs. And I remember he's going back up the stairs saying, yeah, just the big man of the forest. He won't hurt you. And I remember my mom's like, you just scare them, Yeah, so he mentioned that the big man of the forest, I always thought it was his brother, but when I saw his brother come out there, he wasn't big at all. So, yeah, it's not him. So I really think that my stepdad knew there was a Sasquatch out there. And just by the way he talked about it, he wouldn't say, I never thought to ask him in detail about what he saw or what he knew or out there. But yeah, he mentioned the big man of the forest was out there. So anyway, we went to sleep with the girls. We're too scared. And yeah, something was out there. This lake is very secluded. And even today, I think there's not even, I don't know. It's no public access. You can't get out to this lake. But I saw a picture online and it still looks, they show the house, the empty house across the lake and a dock. That's about all they show. It's like, wow, maybe it's not really, it's not all built up like that anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it looks like because it's hard to find. I'm not seeing it on a map, but I am finding a website that talks about it, and it seems like you can't really do anything there unless you're a lake resident. So it's not a thing where you want to try to track it down and then go there because it's not a public access type deal, but. It does look beautiful. I see the photo with the house across the water. I think you're talking about maybe, but
yeah.
Did you ever have any conversations with him when you were an adult about like, hey, what did you mean about the big man?
No, I wished I would have, but I did. But I know he mentioned at least a couple other times about it. I don't think he wanted to talk too much about it because he knew it would scare us, and he wanted us to go out to the lake. He was a lonely man, and my mom pretty much, he wasn't really our dad. He was just someone my mom dated, and we'd go out to the lake. sometimes, and we'd some of us complain, oh, there's no toilet, and the toilet stinks. It's an outhouse and it doesn't have any running water, and you're really kind of roughing it back then. So, but I think the last thing he wanted to do was scare us, and, but, again, I remember the dog, the way it acted when it walked away, when it got up and walked away from it, as if it was not comfortable with the big man. Yeah, something was there, and it just I was the fear that came over us was just really scary, and I felt petrified in my sleeping bag. I couldn't look out. I kind of wish I could have just looked out, but I probably would have went into shock if I actually saw what I think was standing out there, standing beside us, because I could hear the footfall of this thing. And yeah, there's something there. I wish I would have. And like I said, it was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. So, and neither my friend or my brother I don't think they didn't look either. I mean, you couldn't see anything unless you shined your flashlight, but something was there and it stunk. And I remember talking to my brother about it, and my friend, he goes, yeah, something stinks out there. Really bad. And yeah, I wish I would have talked to my stepdad about it a little more too, or asked him about it, but I didn't, and he's gone now. So anyway, I have another story too. These are stories I truly believe something is. In my first encounter, I definitely, like I said, my first encounter, I seen the thing. They exist, and to this day, I believe that there was something out there. And I have a third story.
Okay.
And this, I went hiking with my friends in about 78 or 79, only a couple of years later. This is Goat Lake, about 30 miles from Granite Falls, up in the North Cascades Mountain Loop Highway. My friend, he was a little older than me. And he had his brother with him. So it was me, my friend, and his brother going to go hiking. We went hiking up into the Cascades. So he brought a machete because he was told it was going to probably be overgrown trail, and it was. I mean, we took turns chopping our way into Goat Lake. And there were stinging nettles, devil club, everything to get back there. We worked to get to this lake, and if you look nowadays at this lake, it shows that it's well groomed, and there's even a bathroom at the trailhead. I thought was kind of funny. Yeah, because back then there was only like the trailhead and a box. I think we put our name in for the time we started our hike, and we put our names there, and as far as we could tell, nobody else had been there, and the trail was thick. We thought we were off trail when we were chopping our way to the lake. It took us most of the day to get to Goat Lake, and this is like a glacier lake. It's very deep into Mountain Canyon. So we chopped and we were having a hard time getting to the lake, somewhere where there's somewhere to stand clear, find a clearing around the lake. And we came across the clearing. It was like we came out of the thick woods, and then there was a clearing, and it was like a bedding. There was grass, some branches, and it looked like soft, sooty soil. It looked like something pulled off, soft sand pulled from the beach. But we're wondering how someone got the sand there. So it was a nice bedding. It wasn't too big, but we could all fit there. And outside of this bedding, it was late. We couldn't really go anywhere else. It was like we'd have to chop our way into the lake, chop a trail to the lake, and it looked like it was just kind of downhill. It was all downhill around this lake. And so that clearing was the best spot we had. I mean, we were pretty much isolated. It's getting late. We needed to settle down and get something to eat and get settled in. So we decided, yeah, this is perfect. Nice cleared off spot. So we laid out our bedding. I think we laid a tarp down to keep us dry because it's moist, and laid our sleeping bags out. And we pulled out a little stove, and we're cooking our food. And it's getting late, and suddenly rocks started splashing nearby the lake. They kept coming from up above us or around the bend, and it was kind of uphill from where this cleared off spot was, pretty steep, and rocks kept flying and landing, several rocks. And I think we were yelling. My friend was yelling, "Hey, we'll be out here by morning. Just there's nowhere else to go." We're kind of yelling. We figured we took somebody's spot, and so we were talking a lot, just yelling from time to time to stop throwing the rocks. Suddenly, I hear it's getting quiet now. It's dark. I hear this sound of dirt coming out of the ground, ripping. It sounded like it was ripping from the ground, and these rocks and dirt rained down on the trees by us, and a big, huge splash in the lake. It was a big splash, and it was a big root ball. And we were all quiet. We all got really quiet. Said, "Wow, this something that ripped us out of the ground was strong, and it threw it." And it was a root ball with huge roots on it, and a big splash. And we got quiet. We're freaked out, and now it was really dark, and we just climbed in our sleeping bag, and we didn't want to cook. We didn't want to mess around, do nothing. We just climbed in our sleeping bag and huddled in, and we heard strange noises all night. The next morning, I think, so sometime during the middle of the night, this was a really bad thing that happened. My friend, he was my friend's brother. He got up, he stood up, and I could see the silhouette of him standing up, and and he starts taking a pee. And I heard his brother goes, "Go farther, go farther." And he wouldn't. He just stood there and peed, and he was peeing on the tarp. I'm like, oh no, I could hear it hitting the tarp, and suddenly I felt warm, the warmth of the pee. It rivered down underneath my sleeping bag, and he peed a lot. I was soaking wet with this pee in my, and I'm wet with this pee now, and I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm scared, and I'm mad. And he didn't want to go any farther. He was too scared to go any farther and pee, because he just stood up and started peeing. It was ridiculous. And I was soaked with pee, and now I'm scared out of my mind. The next morning, as soon as day, I mean, this is a long night. This is a really long night. It got dark there quick, and the daylight didn't come for a long time because we're in a canyon, mountain canyons all around us. And when we got up, it was just barely daylight. And I think one of us, he cooked he heated some water, and we had like coffee. That's it. We didn't want to sit around and cook anything. We wanted to just get out of there. And we did. We hiked out of there early. We didn't want to. It was just a terrible trip. And we hike our way in there, and we have to cut our way into there, and we didn't do anything else. That incident that night just scared us. Scared us pretty bad. It was a root ball, Jeremiah. It was huge root ball that a man shouldn't have been able to rip from the ground and throw. And this is when I started believing there's such thing as Sasquatch, Bigfoot, because of what I went through earlier. I don't know what my friends, whether they really thought they existed, but I'm already convinced. I know at this time that they exist because I've already heard more stories. And yeah.
That is just that's an incredible account. I have a few questions about that. So you heard the root ball get ripped out of the ground, and then you saw it after it fell in the water, or it was thrown into the water. Yeah. How big would you estimate that root ball was?
I would say probably a 6 or 8 foot, 6 or 8 inch tree, perhaps, that was ripped out of the ground. And like I said, it rained down rocks and dirt from quite a distance, and a huge splash. And I saw the dirt in the water in the lake, and I was just like, as soon as that happened, I was frozen in fear. This is not a person here. This is something else. This is, I think I already decided in my mind I knew what it was. And it's funny, we didn't talk about it that night or nothing. We were just too scared to even, we were like, shh, a few whispers. We were just like, shh. They kept going, shh, shh, listen. They're trying to hear if something's coming to us, or all night long it was like that. And then we're basically just quiet and listening. I think we knew we were in a bad spot because we cut our way into this place, and it was really difficult to get in there. And So it ain't like we can just get up and run to safety. We were locked into that place, and I was scared. I was really that was probably the worst out of all these out of all three of these counters. That was the scariest I ever been. Because I knew there was no safety nearby. We were screwed right there. We were, and the way, when I think about the way the clearing was, how did the clearing get there? How did who made that? It wasn't a person. After I figured out, after years later, looking at people saying, a few people saying the way a nest might look or something. It's like, wow, this is just adds more to my story. And yeah, it was a clearing with, and there was no trails into this clearing, and it was just there. It's like we lucked out and had a place to sleep, but evidently, I think we took something's spot, not someone's spot. That's all I can say.
No, absolutely. I mean, dude, just the fact of that you had to bushwhack your way in, there's no way there were other people there at that remote lake with you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way.
Exactly. No.
Wow,
There
it
wasn't.
is wild. That is wild in late 70s.
Yeah. Probably 78, 79.
Yeah.
Now it's, I looked at it. Did you look it up on the map?
I did. So I usually will look stuff up on Google Maps, and then it's cool because you can see other people's photos from the location. It's a beautiful area. It is gorgeous.
Yeah. The water's so blue, deep blue. Yeah, it was. But at that time, we couldn't get anywhere there. It was like, at that time, when we were hiking, we thought, this is really bogus, man. And we could see a beautiful lake, but we couldn't really see anywhere to go from other than that spot we were at, that clearing we're cut into. And yeah, and now it looks funny. You even see, I think on Google Map, I've seen some kids there. I thought, wow, there's even kids there that hiked into this place that was so difficult for us to get to. And like they really made it into like a like a campground now or something. Not really a campground. I mean, I'm sure it's quite a hike there to get to it, but yeah. And you can see all the clearing, how there's places to go around the lake, a few anyway, a few places, clearings there. At that time, we didn't see none of that. It's like, I don't know who made the trail back in the late 70s or what, but there wasn't much there back then. It was like we're off a logging road, it felt like, and I mean, it's up Mountain Loop Highway, but at the time, now if you go up the Mountain Loop Highway, it looks like campgrounds, and it's like, wow, it didn't look too much like this back in the 70s.
Exactly. And the thing I want younger listeners to realize, because sometimes this doesn't come across, but think late 70s, there's no cell phones, there's no survival beacons to use. There is nothing to save you when you're in these remote locations like this, having to hack your way in. Something goes down, these guys are in huge trouble and cannot be saved by anyone.
Right, exactly.
It's wild. It is absolutely wild. How did this affect the rest of your life, living through these different encounters in your junior high and high school years?
Yeah, it made me think, wow, this is, it just made me think that the Sasquatch Bigfoot legend is not just a legend, it's real. I mean, they're out there just like me or you. I mean, they're out there. I mean, it made me it made me really wonder, and it's just, yeah. I've hiked since. I went on a few hikes since then. Always wondering and always looking for the Sasquatch. Always on my mind when I'm out hiking, and some of the hikes it took now, there's just too many people around. It's not as secluded like it was. You have to really go farther out to feel like you're a remote, out in the woods. If you go up Mountain Loop Highway now, it's just, like I said, just a lot of campgrounds, and I'm curious to see what Goat Lake looks like. I want to take another hike this year, and somewhere I'm just going to stay in the Pacific Northwest and probably take another hike somewhere, and always have that in the back of my mind that there's probably Sasquatches around, Bigfoots, whatever you want to call them.
Absolutely.
And I think the Pacific Northwest here is just there's so many sightings. The Olympic Mountains is like a really big hot spot for them.
Stephen, this has been such an enjoyable conversation. We've talked a little bit on the show about the Granite Falls area, so it's always nice to hear of different areas that are close by. And just for context for listeners, if you go over to the BFRO website, this takes place in Snohomish County, and I believe it's number 4 on the list of highest reported Bigfoot encounters in Washington. It's the number 4 reported county. So, if you want to hear more from these areas that Stephen has been sharing, if you go over to bfro.net or the Bigfoot Mapping Project, it's there too. Either way, you can see more encounters from this county in Washington. Just a ton of things that have happened there over the years. But, Stephen, I want to make sure just to double check that you've been able to share everything that you wanted to share on the show today.
Yeah, I think I covered it. I think I pretty much covered my story. Thanks for having me, Jeremiah.
Absolutely.
I've been wanting to share this stories for a long time, and I think I tried to post them one time. I'm not sure if I posted them, if the post went out or whatever. I might have mentioned a little bit about them, but this is the first time I'm actually getting my story out there, and I appreciate the time you took to let me share it.
Absolutely. If you ever, have anything else happen that you would need a place to share, feel free to reach out. You know how to contact me. But just thank you for coming on the show today, Stephen.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Just wanted to take a minute to say thank you truly for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Stephen's story is one of those rare encounters that makes you question what's really out there. So huge thanks to Stephen for sharing his unforgettable experiences from the woods of Washington. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new episodes, and share this one with a friend who loves Bigfoot. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow the show and leave a review. It helps more people find us. Now, if you or someone you know has had a Bigfoot encounter, especially in the Lake Stevens or Granite Falls area of Washington, I'd love to hear from you. So shoot me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com and let's talk. And don't forget, Sasquatch Summerfest is coming up July 11th through the 12th in Oak Ridge, Oregon. Bigfoot Society listeners can grab a 2-day pass for the price of 1-day admission with the code BFS at checkout. And tickets are available now at www.sasquatchsummerfest.com. And thanks again for being part of the Bigfoot Society. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there. And see you in the woods.